back at it once again. So, I'm going to talk some boxing. I'm going to talk about a lot of different things, but in particularly, I'm going to talk about, in particularly the Ugas fight with Errol Spence falling through. And I'm going to see if Errol Spence is going to hold true to his word. Because, like I said before, this came out of his mouth, not my mouth. And once again, in typical fashion, some of Errol Spence, fanboys, come on my channel popping off at the mouth like a bunch of emotional girls experiencing their period for the first time. But typical. At the end of the day, they don't want to talk logic. They don't want to talk anything that makes sense. They sit up there and create obstacle after obstacle. They say, oh, well, Bud is ducking Ennis. But the funny thing was, Ennis, after his last fight, called out Errol Spence. And nobody made any videos about it, except me. Now, if he had called out Bud, they would have said, oh, Bud is ducking and all this kind of stuff. But like I said, at the end of the day, Ennis is probably not going to see none of those guys. He's in a different, I guess you could say he's in a different bracket. More than likely, he won't see any of those dudes on his, on his way up. It'll be highly unlikely if he gets Errol Spence, Crawford, or Danny Garcia, or any of those dudes. Just highly unlikely. But now that the Ugas fight has fell through, you have to ask this question: what is Errol Spence gonna do? And as I said before, I didn't say this. Errol Spence said it. And the thing is, this is the problem with his fans. Oh, and I just want to call them out too and expose them for flagging my videos. Trying to keep them from getting monetized. I'll win the appeal anyway. So I don't know what. Yeah, Errol Spence fanboys are flagging my videos. So that just shows you what they all about. They don't. Anytime you say something about Errol Spence, they get mad and they get an attitude like a chick. All I'm saying is, people want this fight with Terrence Crawford. It's to the point we like screw unifications, screw undisputed. Let's just get this fight made. And the only reason why Errol Spence was trying to get a third belt so he could try to use that as leverage, basically to possibly like price himself out, or basically try to lowball Bud into a BS offer to where he could use that as an excuse not to make the fight. Because here's the thing, Bud is a more accomplished fighter than Errol Spence, whether people like it or not. Because I can pick Errol Spence's resume apart the same way you guys love to pick Bud's resume apart. All I know is, in common opponents, Bud has stopped. He stopped them quicker. Some he stopped that Errol Spence has failed to stop. Bud has knocked out everybody at 147. Errol Spence hasn't had a knockout in 3 years? But see, nobody wants to talk about that. These dudes want to talk about pay-per-view numbers. He still was doing 2 million views every time he fought. So Bud's popularity is right there with Errol Spence. Like I said, you ain't no, you know what I'm saying? You ain't no pay-per-view star if your pay-per-views are going double plastic. Okay? So I'm just keeping it 100. Floyd, his pay-per-views went up and up and up as he continued to fight on pay-per-view, to where Floyd ended up doing 4 million pay-per-views. I'm just keeping it a buck. Floyd's last 3 pay-per-views, Manny Pacquiao, Andre Berto, and Conor McGregor, did a combined like 9 million pay-per-view, sales. So how can you call yourself a big fish and you ain't even touched 500,000 in your pay-per-views? Delusional. But then his groupies will say something like that and try to say he's the bigger draw and all this kind of stuff, man. I'm like, man, get out of here. I'm just like, for real. Because if they was really serious about making this fight, the thing is, Errol Spence is not officially ever called out Terrence Crawford. Terrence Crawford has went on record and called out Errol Spence. When Bud went to see Errol Spence in person versus Danny Garcia, Errol Spence asked, why was he there? Then he makes this big hoopla about him coming to see Bud versus Sean Porter. Then he exits stage left. And then waits till you get in the hallway and tweets that he wasn't impressed. And then Derek James changed his story like 2 times about why they left. One reporter, he says they left because it was the 12th round and the fight ended in the 10th round. And then another reporter, he said we left because the fight was over. This is stuff that came out of Derek James' mouth and Errol Spence's mouth. But people are mad at me because I'm reporting this and saying that I'm Team Crawford or saying I'm Team Top Rank. Well, Bud isn't with Top Rank anymore. Let me tell you guys what's really going on. I'm going to be honest with you. It's highly unlikely Bud is going to get Errol Spence next. Because I got a feeling that out of nowhere, the IBF is going to find a mandatory for Errol Spence to fight. Because I think Errol Spence would be crazy to go into a fight with Terrence Crawford next after a year and some change layoff. But at the same time, if he does fight a mandatory, that will just mean Errol Spence wasn't being honest. And I'm gonna tell you guys another reason why you might not get Terrence Crawford versus Errol Spence. Now, we all know what happened with Canelo and Caleb Plant. And I'm gonna do a solo video about this. You know the real reason why Floyd is so pissed off at Canelo Alvarez is because Canelo Alvarez, which I give him credit, this is smart. If he did this and he was smart enough to do this, what's up? Canelo Alvarez is smart because he may have finessed the PBC out of those belts or out of that belt, because he signed a 1-fight deal when they wanted him to sign a 3-fight deal that would include, I think, Charlo, David Benavidez, and possibly Errol Spence. But due to the fact that Canelo got that belt and he got the PBC for like $40 to $50 million, well, it's kind of like he finessed them and he played them. And that's why Floyd has been going in on Canelo as of late. But at the same time, what Floyd has said about Canelo is true. That's the funny part. But the only reason why Floyd is saying that because he's pissed off at Canelo, because they believe that Canelo finessed Al Heyman and pulled a fast one on the PBC, which to a certain degree, I don't feel that bad, because at the end of the day, the PBC has basically played a role in holding up possibly the biggest fight that could be made in boxing as of right now, which is Terrence Crawford versus Errol Spence. And the reason why It's highly unlikely. I will be shocked if Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford is made next. But another reason why that fight may not happen, I'm gonna tell you right now. Unless Terrence Crawford signs a multi-fight deal with the PBC, they're probably not gonna make a unification bout, or they're not gonna make a fight. Because one, here's the thing. They don't want to do a fight-by-fight basis with Terrence Crawford, because here's the thing. Let's just say Terrence Crawford fights Errol Spence and he defeats Errol Spence. And then he has 3 of the 4 belts. Now you have to ask yourself, he could go back to top rank. And that's what they scared of. That he may get those belts and then go back to top rank. The Ugas fight was all about trying to have leverage and trying to have like a negotiating edge over Terrence Crawford. Oh, we got 3 of the belts to your 1. So you have to remember that that's what's going on, more than likely. So we still may not get Terrence Crawford. He ain't gonna move up without fighting Bud all he wants. He been saying that for the last 2.5 years. Well, he ain't made no attempt to set up a fight with Terrence Crawford. Okay? And don't come over here hollering about what you heard on the interview with somebody else and all that kind of stuff. Because like I say, I know the whole story. I could, you know what I'm saying? I know everything. I know everything what's going on. So I'm just telling you right now, it's highly unlikely that you're going to get Terrence Crawford versus Errol Spence next. That was just, that was just cap. That was just cap on Errol Spence's part, because he more than likely thought that they was going to land the Ugas fight with monkey wrench in that. Ordering him to fight somebody else. I don't know why I'd be buffering when I get over here, but anyway. So I guess Daniel Kinahan's money might be deeper or mean more than Al Haymon's. Because I think this dude Ugas is finna fight, is represented or managed by MTK. Daniel Kinahan's people. So, And then, like I said before, you have to wonder on another note, and running off with 2 of the 3 belts. And having 3 total belts and only lacking 1 to make undisputed, which then Al Haymon could possibly be difficult when it comes to trying to set up a fight with Ugas for undisputed. The only way I think Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford happens if there's a 2 or 3 fight deal. And this is what I would do. I would sign, if I'm Terrence Crawford, if I was Terrence Crawford, not telling Terrence Crawford what to do, if I was Terrence Crawford, I would sign a 2-fight deal with the PBC with an option for a 3rd. As far as the Errol Spence fight go, 50-50 the first fight. And then the rematch, the winner gets 60-40. With an option for a 3rd fight. And then if there's a 3rd fight, the winner gets 70-30. And then leave it at that. I have the option for a 3rd fight. But a mandatory 2-fight deal. But real talk, that's the only way that Terrence Crawford is probably going to get an Errol Spence fight. Do not get sucked into this thing just because they made Sean Porter fight gonna mean that they gonna keep making fight. Look who Gary Russell Jr. fighting. Another guy that really nobody cares about. Another fight that nobody is gonna be checking for. Only diehard boxing fans is gonna watch that fight. And I'm just keeping it a buck. And this is why Gary Russell Jr.'s career is where it is now, because he keeps fighting dudes like that. So, I'm just telling the truth. Now, let me get to another fight that's coming up on Saturday. So, you have Vasily Lomachenko versus Richard Commey. Richard Commey is a cool cat. I interviewed the dude a couple of times. Cool cat. But he'll be taking on Lomachenko. Now, is Lomachenko is successful? Because actually, Top Rank got back-to-back fights. They got this fight with Lomachenko coming up this Saturday, and then next Friday they have Arthur Beterbiev versus Marcus Brown. Now, the winner of Marcus Brown versus Arthur Beterbiev more than likely will get the winner out of the upcoming fight with Joe Smith. And damn, I forgot who Joe Smith is fighting. So then that'll be a unification bout, because I think Joe Smith Jr. has the WBO title. So then those two will square off, and then hopefully the winner of Joe Smith Jr. versus the winner of Joe Smith Jr. versus Arthur Beterbiev, or Arthur Beterbiev, Marcus Brown winner, which more than likely it'll probably be Beterbiev. They probably will try to see if they set up a fight with Bivol for Undisputed. Hopefully we can get two Undisputed fights before the end of 2022. Now, getting back to Vasily Lomachenko. If Vasily Lomachenko is successful, they're talking about a pay-per-view with him and Shakur Stevenson. I think maybe Bob Arum feels that Shakur Stevenson is ready for Vasily Lomachenko because they have sparred before. So I think that would be an interesting fight. I think Shakur Stevenson got a chance. It's not going to be easy for him, but I think he has a chance to win that fight. It would be an intriguing fight, both ways. But it wouldn't surprise me if Shakur Stevenson won that fight. But I could also see possibly Lomachenko winning that fight as well. So it just all depends. If Lomachenko fight the way against if he fought the way against Shakur Stevenson, he fought against Teofimo Lopez, he definitely gonna lose the fight. I don't know. I think Lomachenko had a terrible strategy. If his strategy was just to hope that Teofimo Lopez would tire out the second half of the fight so that could open up opportunity for him to unleash on Teofimo Lopez, that was a bad strategy. Hoping that he would get tired, that was a terrible strategy, and boy did it backfire on Vasily Lomachenko. Before Vasily Lomachenko looked up, he was down. How I scored it, he was down at least he was down at least 6 rounds, 7 rounds. So he had gave up the first 6 or 7 rounds. So Vasily Lomachenko was way behind in that fight. Now, like I said, after the 7th, Vasily Lomachenko started to rally. And Vasily Lomachenko, you can make an argument that he won. You can make an argument that he won like 3 rounds straight. Real talk. You can make an argument that he won 8, 9, 10. And it looked like it looked like, I think, in round 9 that he was on the verge of possibly stopping Teofimo Lopez. But Teofimo Lopez, I give him credit. He rallied, he got it together. He regrouped, he reset, and he came back and he secured the last 2 rounds. Which to me, I had Teofimo Lopez winning that fight maybe or 8-4, but he clearly had won that fight. He clearly had won that fight. But I see some things that Shakur Stevenson could exploit with Lomachenko. Now, another fight that I'm interested in is Mikey Garcia seems to be going back down to the 135 domain because he feels like maybe he's not big enough to be a welterweight. And fighting at that weight class may be the best for him. Now, rumor has it that he wants to fight Devin Haney. And to be honest with you, I would consider that fight if I'm Devin Haney. Now, I know people go say, well, Mikey Garcia is coming off a loss. Well, you know what? So what? That ain't Devin Haney's fault. That's on him. He lost the fight, not Devin Haney. You only want to use that coming off a loss when it's convenient. So I'm keeping it a buck. I really am. I like that fight. That's another like stepping stone for Devin Haney to fight Mikey Garcia, a former pound for pound fighter. So I would be interested in that fight. I would be interested in that fight a lot. Because I think for the most part that would be a 50-50 fight. So I like that fight. But anyway, I will catch you guys when I get home. I got like 30 minutes to go. Thanks for tapping in. I'm out. Woo!